Right there, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. Another video on Old Red, our Project 1983 Peterbilt 359. On today's video, we're going to be showing you some cold weather preparations I'm going to be doing here. It is getting to be the end of November here, and it's getting chilly. One morning there earlier this week that I got up and it was showing it was 9 degrees outside, so definitely getting chilly out. It's actually not too bad today. I think it's mid-30s, so good day to get a few things done, get a few things prepared for a little bit colder weather. So we're going to be doing that, and I'll show you a few things on that. I also got the old engine that came out of this truck picked up, and it's going to be hard to show you guys the issues that were with that motor, but I'll be able to at least kind of show you and explain it to you. The engine was kept in cold storage, and it took me a couple months to go get it picked up. So the deck kind of flash rust. It's kind of hard to see the damage now. It's going to be pretty hard to get to show up on camera, but I'll be able to at least explain it to you and show you. Okay, so now the first thing I've actually already got done here is I needed to make some brackets to be able to hook up my hand throttle. That way I can idle up the truck. Starts getting below zero, I'll generally idle the truck at night. I don't like to idle the truck overnight, but when you're talking below zero weather, you want to try to keep your fuel warm, keep your engine warm, and it's hard on a diesel engine to slow idle it. You want to bump the idle up, 800, 900, 1,000 RPMs, be able to keep some heat in the motor, a little heat in the combustion chamber, and good oil flow through the top end of the motor. So you want to be able to idle the engine up. Now, I try not to idle any diesel engine any more than I have to, but when you're talking below zero weather, I personally think it's easier on the truck to idle it than it is to cold start it in the morning. Also, issues with fuel gelling and stuff like that, you're going to want to try to keep your fuel warm. On this mechanical cat, it does not return a whole lot of fuel. It's got a small fuel return line. It passes through the pump and returns fuel back to the tank. Now on the Cummins engine, or even the newer cat engines, your fuel flow goes through the head, around the injectors, and then the excess fuel that the injectors don't use return out of the back of the head to the fuel tank. So that fuel that's returning to the tank is quite warm, and you have quite a bit more flow. So that alone does a big part in keeping your fuel tanks warm. However, this mechanical cat, the fuel just passes through the fuel pump, and the fuel basically deadheads to your injector nozzles through these lines here, so you don't have the fuel passing through the engine and back out, making it quite a bit warmer. So this truck is equipped with a fuel tank heater. This truck feeds and returns off the driver's side tank, and then it's just a gravity crossover line over to the passenger side tank. Now, I did previously have this fuel tank heater hooked up, but however, even though the original 5 Series transmission on this truck did not have a transmission cooler, with the weights that I run, and definitely pushing a lot more horsepower than stock, a transmission cooler was necessary. So I had actually unhooked the fuel tank heaters and added this oil to water trans cooler on the transmission. So I don't have ports on the engine now for the fuel tank heater. These right here are actually the fuel tank heater hoses, which used to run to the front. I cut off when I added the trans cooler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the outlet from the rear heater core, and I'm just going to loop that into the fuel tank heater, so the coolant will pass through the bunk sleeper heater, and then it'll go through the fuel heater, rather, not fuel cooler, the fuel heater, before it returns back to the engine. Now because this heater line is 3/4 and this fuel tank heater is 5/8, I had to get a barbed hose adapter here that's 3/4 on one end, 5/8 on the other. Go ahead and get our hose clamps on here and get our fitting shoved into the hoses. Alright, so I've got the valves opened back up. Truck's been running a little while, warming up. And we're up to about 160 degrees coolant temperature on the truck. We got nice hot water flowing through the tank heater as well as the heater core. This fuel tank's already about 5 degrees above ambient temperature. So the fuel tank heater's working good. And basically all the fuel tank heater is coolant comes in, there's a stainless steel tube inside of the tank that goes down, makes a turn along the bottom of the tank, turns around, comes back out. So basically just a stainless steel tube that runs through the tank. Alright, so I've got the old engine here from the truck strapped down on my trailer here in the shop. Now the two main issues with this engine, well, the reason for the oil consumption is the #1 piston liner was scored, which actually does correspond to where I found the broken piston oiler when I initially had low oil pressure on this truck. So obviously this truck was run with the load with that piston oiler broken, and that's what would have scored that liner. Now the issue with the block, it's hard to see because there's small cracks, and with this flash rusting on the deck, it's probably not going to show up on camera. So you're just going to kind of have to take my word for it. But part of a design issue or whatever with the big cam 3s and earlier is this bore right here is where your piston liner sits. Okay, basically the cylinder walls are removable and they're sealed with O-rings, and they sit down in this groove here. You can see that this groove is cut for the liner to sit on top of it, and then actually the liner will sit up above the deck surface a little bit to seal to the head gasket. Now on the bottom here is another machined area, and that's where the bottom O-ring sits. Well, on these earlier engines, this clearance down at the bottom here is much larger. Now in the later big cam 4s and N14s, that was machined to be a lot tighter fit. Now you can retrofit these older engines to go to, they call it a lower press fit liner. It's not actually press fit into that bore, but it's, you know, say this gap, I'm gonna just kind of spitball here, I don't know the exact numbers, but say the clearance between the liner and that bottom bore on, say, a big cam 3 might be 40 thousandths. Well, it might be 5 or 10 thousandths on a lower press fit liner engine. Now they make what's called a 60/40 liner, which is 60 thousandths oversize on one end, 40 thousandths oversize on the other end, and you can install that liner, and after you cut the bores to the right dimensions and convert a older block into a lower press fit liner. Because basically what happens is just this surface here is what's locating your liner within the bore. So these liners with the older design here will kind of shake when you're under load, and it ends up cracking this counter bore. So there's several cylinders here where the counter bores are cracked into the head bolt holes. Now, it would be possible out of frame to repair this issue. Actually, one of these cylinders I noticed, this one here, this has had a salvage sleeve installed. You can faintly see the line of where this was cut out and the salvage sleeve was pressed in. I think there might have been another one here too where I saw salvage sleeve was previously done. I feel that makes the block weaker myself. You're taking much of the original deck material out. Actually, where your cylinders come together on your twin cylinders here, you see this one's a very thin gap, this one's a very thick gap, but you're actually cut the one salvage sleeve into the other one here, and that basically leaves almost no original deck material here. So I'm not a real big fan of that. I mean, I know it's been done many times with success. I'm not a huge fan of it myself, but it would be possible to put salvage sleeves in here. Now, my thought was if the crack went into the head bolt hole, that it would be very difficult to repair with the salvage sleeve. Although one of these cylinders, it's hard to say with the flash rusting on here which one it is. I did see it when I was looking through this before, but there was a salvage sleeve, and then they had also sleeved the head bolt hole. So I'm guessing that was something where this block had previously been cracked into a head bolt hole. So that was the block issue with it. The oil consumption issue was a scored piston liner, which I don't have the piston liners to show you guys. They'd thrown them away. They're not worth anything. Used liners, you're never going to sell those, so they just tossed them, which is perfectly understandable, but that means that I don't have them to show you. So really, that's about all I can say about that. I do believe that all of these parts are sold pending pickup. I sold the fuel pump and the turbo to one local guy. He came and got them and expressed interest in just buying everything. And I think that's what I'm going to do, rather deal with 40 different people to piece all this out piece by piece. Just sell it to him and be done with it. So I'll let you guys know if he doesn't come through or whatever, and let you guys know if there's parts available. But as of right now, I believe everything here is sold. I need to get hooked up to my side dump trailer here. I kind of thought I was done with side dump work for the year, but I got to get hooked back up to that trailer. Got a little trailer light wiring issue to sort out on that. No idea how long that'll take or how much I'll record on that, but got to get hooked up to the trailer here and push on. So the trailer light issue here is solved, and that was a lot of fun. But anyway, guys, until next time, be sure to like, comment, subscribe down below. Thank you. Have a great day.